You guys, they made a vampire movie that doesn't make me go, oh, they're doing that? Halfway through. This is great.
That's it. That's my intro.
Hey, I'm Amanda watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about the new horror movie, Abigail. Now, if you want a no spoiler review, if you don't want to know details about what happened, then let me leave you with this, and then you can leave here. Scooby Doo meets Clue meets vampire ballerina. That's all I will leave you with. You can goodbye now. Goodbye. Have fun. Go watch the movie in theaters. I really hope you still go see this movie even with watching this video, because I really like this movie, and you guys always complain when I don't like a movie, so I figured I would tell you guys about a movie that I do like, because there was like a few little things that I'm like, okay, I see why this might be annoying for some people, but like literally everyone that I've tried to get to go see this movie so far has come away being like, oh my god, wait, why was that so good? It genuinely surprised me, because literally the premise that I gave you is even more than I went in knowing. I went in knowing that it was starring Melissa Barrera, and I went in knowing that it was a vampire ballerina, and that is it. I knew they would like kidnap the vampire ballerina, and that is all I knew. And I think that's basically all they really had out there. I should make the note that that's not the premise, but it goes so much more into that it Previously, another movie that I reviewed that was a vampire movie that I think advertised itself poorly was The Invitation. The Invitation since then has had a resurgence when it went to Netflix and through Book Talk and all of that. I still have my personal issues with the movie. I think there was a lot of things they could have done better, but I'm glad that it ended up finding its audience. But a lot of the complaints that I saw about The Invitation once it ended up on Netflix and all of that was people on TikTok being like, why did they not advertise this as a vampire movie? I had no idea this was a vampire movie. So even just the fact that Abigail right off the bat in every single trailer was like, surprise, the girl you kidnapped? Vampire ballerina. Fantastic, right away. Let's keep doing this. Because like a lot of people have been commenting about how Hollywood has been advertising musicals lately, I see that a lot of genre movies are also kind of doing the same thing. Some horror movies even in that, where it's like, let's not tell them very key details about the movie, okay? Which, again, you can give key details without spoiling things, and then also giving key details should not be a spoiler. Vampire ballerina? Not a spoiler. But let's talk about this movie, okay? Because I love horror. I tried to drag my friends with me to go see this because I was really looking forward to it, but they were like, no, if there's jump scares, I'm gonna die, so I ended up going alone. Right off the bat, we're introduced to Abigail. She's dancing. She's performing alone in a theater empty. Then as we are seeing her, we are being cut back and forth with images of the crew, okay? We don't know anyone's names yet, but we're shown Melissa Barrera's character, and we start getting little hints and pieces about at least what each of their jobs are. We see who has guns, who doesn't, things like that, and that clearly this is a first time meeting situation at the very least, okay? They start being like, oh, who are we getting? Things like that. Then we see Abigail getting transported by a personal driver home. Frank, Joey, and Peter, they pick up Melissa, Joey, and once they get to the house, then Sammy, played by Catherine Newton, and the driver, Dean, played by Angus Cloud. This was, in fact, Angus Cloud's last movie. He had just finished filming his scenes before he tragically passed away this year, and the movie does end with a tribute to him as well. They open the gates to them to the house, and then that is when Frank, played by Dan Stevens, and Peter, played by Kevin Durand, and Joey, played by Melissa, open the doors and go on in. They go through and get into the house. That is when Joey realizes that they are kidnapping a child. And she's like, no one says it was a kid. And Frank said, if you want to leave, get out of here. But they hear Abigail coming home, and so it's time to hide. They abduct Abigail, and as they're about to leave, they realize that Abigail's father is coming home, and that's when the alarms sound. They get out there, drive. That whole sequence kicks into high gear very quickly, and then it takes a very hard halt to slow down to meandering towards getting to where they're going to be keeping Abigail for the next 24 hours, we learn, all right? So it's kind of like almost like a very jarring experience when you're watching it that I think actually works really well. I love when it's utilized really well in horror, where it's like kicking up the tension so that you are right in the action with the characters, and then bringing it down so that you think you're safe. Because they think they're safe. Even though realistically in the situation, they're all criminals. They've all been hired to do this job, obviously, of abducting this girl and holding her for ransom. They don't know each other. They don't want to know each other. And the person that's hired them, Lambert, he's the one that lets them into this now manor, I would call it. I want to live there, sorry. I mean, ideally without all of the bodies, but like, you get my point. He lets them in. He's like, great, the hard part's done. You got the girl. Now you just got to hold her here for 24 hours and we'll get the money and we'll all be $50 million richer. It'll be great. He takes all their cell phones, leaves and assigns them all names. He makes it very clear the only person who is going to be seeing Abigail is going to be Joey, so that Abigail only ever hears one voice. We later find out out that Joey was a medic in the army, but it's basically set up that at the very least she's like a doctor or a nurse or something. Lambert takes their phones, leaves, and basically closes the door and said, cool, you guys can hang out, you can sleep, I don't really care. Just like make sure that nothing happens to the girl and no one shows up. Have fun. Abigail gets secured right away. It's shown very quickly that, you know, Joey is very maternal. We do see a quick image of her with her son on her phone before handing it over. Sammy is like the young, goofy one. She's kind of goofing around a little bit. She's trying to send off text messages even as Lambert is taking her phone. Dean is the loud, obnoxious one. And Frank is the, I think, de facto leader, at least at this point, okay? And he's kind of like the point man, essentially. Vrickles is the sharpshooter. Peter's the muscle. Abigail's secure. They're leaving her alone for a little bit because she's been sedated. They're all like just having drinks and goofing around. Dean's like, no, I know who everyone is. Like, oh, she's this, she's that. He's like trying to read everyone and trying to show off a little bit. Joey goes, no, you're totally wrong about everything. None of that is correct. Frank is like, I will give you like $100 if you say one real thing about me. Because again, they're supposed to know nothing about each other. And right away, Joey just says, you were a cop. And then just starts reading everyone in the room. Not for filth, but reading them well. Clearly she's experienced with people and trying to get a little bit inside of their heads. And the thing that really pissed off Dean, and she's like, you're deranged and you're not a professional. Sammy thinks it's funny. She's like, oh my God, do me. Like, here's what'll $20 get me, you know, whatever. She knows that Rickles is, you know, a Marine. Peter was small and got bullied in school and then got big and then decided to start being hired muscle because, hey, let's make people pay for, you know, being mean to me. And then Sammy comes from money and then just uses her, she hides behind the keyboard as a hacker. And she's like, you know, once you think because you don't carry a gun, like nothing touches you and that you don't have blood on your hands, but like, let me know when that wears off. Then she's like, okay, I'm gonna go check on the girl because Frank says you're an addict to Joey and can tell, like, listen, I know you're eating all that candy. That's some type of like oral fixation to avoid the withdrawals or whatever. He's like, you know, a detective knows a junkie, all this stuff. So she goes to go check on Abigail. And that is when she makes the decision to cover her face, again, Joey, and take the blindfold off of Abigail and move the cuffs so that she can sit up a little better. Abigail starts trying to ask questions about Joey's son, decides she's gonna call him Justin, even though that's not his real name. They pinky promise, and Joey says, I'm gonna make sure nothing happens to you, all right? But she leaves Abigail's blindfold off, and this is the problem. It's not really quite a dramatic irony because at the very least, if you know the trailer, then you already know what the cast doesn't know, what this crew doesn't know. We know that Abigail is a vampire. They don't know that. And in the movie, if you're just watching the movie, you don't know that either yet. There's been really no indication to show that yet. But in that first moment as well, Abigail starts crying because Joey says, you know, as soon as your dad pays us, like, you get to go home. It's that simple. And Abigail's crying and says, my dad doesn't want a child. You've made a mistake. He doesn't care about me. And then as Joey is leaving, Abigail says with a totally blank face, I'm really sorry for what's going to happen to you. And it freaks out Joey enough that she immediately goes to Frank and says, how much do you trust Lambert? Do you trust he would have told you everything? Because they don't even know whose kid Abigail is at this point. They know nothing. Joey says, you know, she just implied that her dad is a very scary individual and I don't scare easy, so when I do, I take notice. This freaks out Frank enough to go and check on Abigail and does not know that Abigail is not blindfolded. So Abigail sees his face. He starts screaming at her, covers his face, said, did you see my face? What color my eyes? What color my eyes? I don't know. I don't know. Abigail's crying. He's got a gun to her head. And she said, who is your father? Who is your father? So that's when she tells Frank, my dad is Christophe Lazar. Now we have no idea who Christophe Lazar is, but Frank does because he goes and grabs his bag and says, take my cut. I don't give a shit. I'm leaving. Christophe Lazar is a well-connected criminal powerhouse. It's like, oh, you stole his daughter? Okay, he's gonna murder everyone you've ever met in your life, is basically what it's implied to be. And this freaks out Frank enough that he's like, I'm leaving. Everyone else is kind of like, what if we leave? And it's like, wait a minute, right now everything's fine. He doesn't know who we are. No one knows who we are. He's like, no, she saw my face. And it's like, okay, well, maybe she didn't. And he kind of like goes past this, she saw my face a little too quickly for me, I think. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, maybe everything is fine for now. But they also realize that they can't just leave her there with food and water and just leave because that is one of the options. And it's like, again, she saw Frank's face at the very least, and Frank knows enough about everyone else there because of Joey's little trick of saying, oh, I know about X, Y, and Z. He knows enough that he could find them. Stick to the plan. We're gonna go check all the windows and doors and make sure this house is locked up up tight, and we're gonna go from there. So as they're all doing that, they all go find their bedrooms. They all go try and sleep. Dean ends up trying to go into Sammy's room and like scares her. It's a whole little jump scare moment. She kicks him out and he goes out. I went to the bathroom at this point. But basically he starts looking around, goes to the kitchen, and gets got right as I'm coming back from the bathroom. It's very clear something is in the house with them at this point. Dean is dead. Okay. Then Sammy hears him screaming and goes down to look for him. And she's like, oh my God, you scared me. What are you doing down here in the kitchen? And tries to turn him around and his head falls off of his body. She starts screaming. Peter runs in and is like, oh my God, oh my God. And she's like, get them, get everyone. What is this? What happened? Everyone's freaking out. And Frank is like, how did this happen? She's like, oh, I'm sorry, you thought I did this? Because Sammy is tiny. They're like, oh, it looks like someone ripped his head off his body, like he got attacked by a wild animal. And that is where we start hearing about Valdez. Valdez is apparently another urban legend tied to Lazar. Basically, there was like some lieutenants and some crime syndicate of Lazar's that were going to testify and were in witness protection, and they were on the top floor of a hotel room. They were guarded the entire night. They go in the morning to bring them in for, their testimonies, and they are ripped to shreds. Organs missing, shredded. Okay. The only way in would have been through the front door or the window. Basically just like, oh, Valdez is that scary and Valdez might already be here. Or the other thing, one of the crew is Valdez. So they all start looking around. They go check on Abigail to make sure that she's not gone or that nothing's happened to her. And she's still there. So it's like, okay, maybe, he left. Maybe he's just messing with us. So they decide to go and check everything. Rickles checks in with Joey, and there's been kind of like there's a vibe. Basically, Rickles and Joey have decided that they're the only two people that trust each other, because Rickles is like, I trust none of these other chuckleheads. I trust you. I can tell you're also, Army, and that's when we learned that she was a medic and all this stuff. They're like, oh, listen, you have to go talk to her and see if anyone else went into her room. Maybe Valdez left her in there just to like mess with us, basically. So Joey goes in and is like, did anyone leave you here? Like, did anything? And she's like, I'm scared. You said no one was gonna hurt me. That guy that came in said he was gonna hurt me. He says he works for my dad. He said his name is Valdez. Because again, Joey has not said the name Valdez. So the fact that Abigail knows this, they're basically like, oh no, Frank knows this. Then as she's talking, Rickles says, hey, I gotta talk to you out here. Calls her out, and it's like someone took my gun. So Rickles' gun is gone from where it's supposed to be. And so him and Joey are talking. It's like, okay, we'll separate. We'll go find Frank, because she just told me that Frank is Valdez. So they start separating. Joey gets literally 5 feet away and then is like, here's a sound, turns, and Rickles is like convulsing, okay? She walks over, half of his face and neck is gone, dead on the floor. So she immediately goes and finds Frank and starts pointing a gun at him, goes back and forth, and he's like, oh my God, I gotta give the girl credit, because she managed to manipulate you and all of us in the span of like 2 minutes. Fantastic. But she's smearing my good name. Peter, go talk to Abigail. Because again, Peter is the hired muscle. Joey says, don't you dare. And he says, I'm sorry, Joey, it's my job. I have to. Frank and Joey have guns on each other. So in order for her to stop Peter, she has to take the gun off of Frank. So that's what she does. She runs in after Peter, but Peter is already like, I'm sorry, little girl, like, I'm sorry, Abigail, or whatever, to go in. And they're going back and forth. Abigail's yelling, Joey, you promised, I'm working on it, then shoots him. Okay? Just shoots him. And as they're arguing back and forth, like, oh my God, I can't believe you shot me. It's like, I had to, going back and forth. Abigail decides to stand up, takes her cuffs off, and Sammy's like, guys, and Frank's like, what the fuck? How'd she get the cuffs off? And that is when she reveals that she is a vampire ballerina. Immediately launches herself at Peter, and Frank just shoots her in the forehead. She goes down. They're like, oh my God, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Abigail sits up, wipes the blood off her face, and charges. Joey empties her clip into Abigail, doesn't do anything. They lock her in the room, and they're like, what the fuck? How do you kill a vampire? They tried to get out a little earlier, and that is when they realized that the doors were bolted shut, and then this is when all the windows start shutting on them as well. They realized at the time, like, they are like, oh, we're stuck in here with Valdez, and Abigail's stuck in here with us type of thing. They don't know she's a vampire yet. At this point now, they're like, oh no, the little girl is Valdez, so they're trapped in this house. They cannot leave. So they're like, okay, how do you kill a vampire? Sammy's like, okay, what are we thinking? Like a True Blood, a Twilight, what are we thinking? And Peter's like very much like, I'm not hearing this. Like, I don't want to hear this. And Frank's like, listen, this is the reality of right now. You can go and pray later. Right now we have to kill this little girl. Okay, it's like, this is what we're dealing with. Do your job. And so they decide they're gonna break off the pool cubes and go sharpen them. Joey's like, that's not gonna work. have fun. Just decides to kind of stay back, and it's like, okay, fine, whatever. They go and find Abigail. She's not in the room. They go and try and find her, and this is where Abigail does. Someone got mad at me because they said, Matt, are you calling this little girl a cunt? No, I said she did the cuntiest thing ever, which is different, okay? To be cunt and to be a cunt are two different things, and I stand by that. She did the cuntiest thing ever, where she changes into basically a Swan Lake ballerina tutu. There's jewels, there's feathers, she's got a hairpiece. She has changed out of her practice leotard, and she is now in a show performance. Not only that, they find a room in the mansion that is basically a mini theater with a stage, and she is now not only playing the music that she had been playing at the start of the movie, she is now dancing with Dean's headless corpse. That is how Frank, Sammy, and Peter find her with their garlic and sharpened pool cubes. She's like shocked. She drops Dean's body, and they're all scared and charge her right off the bat. Right away, she knocks Sammy down and just starts pounding into her stomach, okay, and chest. Basically, I figured breaking her ribs, but nothing really happens after this aside from that. So Peter shoves her over, and he's like using his crucifix at her, and so she takes the cross and starts pincushioning his chest with it, rapid fire. They try to get her with the stake, and she takes Frank's stake, stabs him in the leg. So right off the bat, they're just all battered and bruised at this point, okay? They barely escape with their lives, and she's just letting them walk out laughing and smiling and doing a little twirl, basically. They go back downstairs, and while they're downstairs, Joey checks to make sure that she still has the second vial of the sedative that she had used on Abigail when they abducted her. They come down, and immediately Joey's already got her, like, kit out to go and patch them up. She's like, why didn't she kill you? And they said, because she's fucking with us. We know the one thing that does work on her is this. Frank is like, that was an act. That didn't work. She's like, when I used it on her earlier, she was out. Her pulse was slow and steady. You can't fake that. So they decide they're going to find her and trap her and then get her, basically. They basically go through the house again. They split up again to try and find Abigail. And throughout this, I thought they were going to do a thing where there was like more vampires, which I think this was kind of a good redirection. I would have to go back and rewatch it, which I already have a few people I'm going to drag back. But there's a few scenes where I was like, are these more coffins potentially? Because there's really, at this point, we don't know if there's any coffins involved in this type of vampire, Abigail's type of vampire. But is one that Sammy finds that is like, she screams and freaks out and all this stuff. And then Peter finds Abigail. Abigail just kind of walks into frame out of the darkness in her little dress and is like, hi, and just starts twirling and hunting him, okay? Which a lot of people have been comparing this movie to Megan, because Megan also has a dance sequence. I just think this is on such another level with the dance sequences, because Megan's dance sequences are such a misdirection, in my opinion, because it's literally like, oh no, she's gonna get her prey, but she's gonna like serve as she does it. And then she's like trying to distract them a little bit with the dancing. Like, oh, I'm designed to entertain, basically, and like play with kids, Megan. And so with Abigail, though, Abigail is just a professional. And she's like, I've worked this hard to be a ballerina. I like playing with my food. You're going to see me perform, because that is my athletic ability as a vampire ballerina. And it's just done in such a way that I think works so well. It's really, God, there's one sequence, we're not even there yet, but there's one sequence that is done so beautifully and so horrifically. It's fantastic. He's running, and that's where we get the line from the trailer, vampire on my ass, because she is hunting him, and he's just this big dude. He tries to close the door at one point, and she just bursts through it, because she might be 4'11", but she's going to hunt you for sport. I have to skip around a little bit, because if I keep going, this video is going to be 9,000 years long. But basically, there's a whole fight sequence on the staircase, okay? And finally, after a very drawn out thing, because she dropped it and then they got it, they are able to sedate Abigail as she's screaming at them, gnashing her teeth at them, like, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna rip your heart out, all this stuff, okay? Fantastic. They all breathe a sigh of relief. Downstairs earlier, they had found an elevator shaft, okay, that was basically like iron, I think, and so they just kind of assume like, oh yes, this will work. And so Abigail comes to in this elevator shaft with them all surrounding her. And then this is when we get the reveal of who Abigail actually is. Lazar is her father, but Abigail's not like 11. She's more like a few millennial old, you know, so is Lazar, is what we're basically told. It's like, no, her father's there. And then we find out that no, her father wasn't the one that came home when they abducted her. That was all a show. All of this is a show. Her father's not coming for her. This whole thing is like a game for her. They literally were all brought here for the purpose of this. Yeah, Lambert works for me. He brought you in. He sold you out. The end, and then starts basically going through why she picked all of these people, including the fact that they basically all worked to some degree or had messed with her father's business. Like, she does this to help her father, but she also says that it doesn't matter how much she does, her father does not love her. Her father does not want her. She can kill every one of their enemies. It won't matter. She's basically a guard dog for him at this point. To have Matilda stand there and just calmly be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's funny. Here you go. Here's everything I know about you. Here's how you abandoned your son. Here's how you abandoned your whole family. Here's how you're a drug addict. Like, just totally, oh God, fantastic. Alicia Weary did great, terrifying, fantastic, love it. But this is where we get something that's really important about Frank that I want to note here so that it makes more sense later. Basically, Frank was a detective. He was a vice detective. He went undercover in Lazar's operations. He is the one that found the lieutenants that then ended up getting killed by Valdez later. But basically, Abigail's like, you liked that power a little bit too much. You liked that freedom. You also got addicted to it. And you got addicted to that power. And that's why you turned and started working with all these people and started trying to go after your own and joined this life after being a cop. You were done. You abandoned your family, all this stuff. So again, addicted to the power, I think, is that important little note. Joey, the reason she was chosen is that she became an underground medic and then just was a little too high, removing a bullet at one point and just nicked an artery and killed someone pretty high up in Lazar's organization. Sammy stole money because of course she did. Peter just worked his muscle and then got sick of working his muscle and then tried to leave. It's a whole thing. Throughout this time, Abigail's like, okay, if you all let me out, I'll let one of you live. During the original confrontation, before they were able to sedate Abigail on the stairs, Sammy got bit by Abigail on her arm, and Sammy is freaking out. Like, am I going to turn into a vampire? Am I going to turn into a vampire? And she literally asked Abigail, and Abigail's like, I don't know, maybe. And she's like, oh my God, she said maybe, freaking out. It's so good. Catherine Newton is so good in this. Horror icon, okay? They just go back and forth about it, and so she's like, she still has the bite mark, but it's like she might turn into a vampire. We don't know. But Frank gets left with Abigail, and again, she's like, listen, my offer still stands. If you let me out of here, I'll let you live. He's like, okay, tell us how to get out of here. Tell us how to get out of the house and open up the house, and I'll let you out. They go back and forth, and she's like, okay, fine. Right after, you have to let me out. And so apparently she tells him that there is a secret door in the library. Like, if you go through and open this door, whatever, it'll open it. He's like, okay, great. Thanks for the note. And then turns to leave. And she said, we had a deal. And he's like, I don't really care. And then kept walking. And that's where we see once again that Abigail was messing with them the whole time. The cage never held her. She just does a little ballerina move. Boom, cage is gone. I love when tiny people do chaos. She attacks them. Joey comes in and grabs him. They get upstairs to the library, and they had managed to get the window open because it's now daytime. So their sunlight is streaming in. When they were shooting Abigail at one point, one of the windows opened or got cracked open, and the sunlight literally exploded her arm and it started regrowing. But they now know that sunlight does in fact hold off the vampire. That part is real. That lore is real. So they get upstairs where the window is open from a library that Joey had found earlier, and they all get in the sunlight. And as they're in the sunlight, Frank is going and trying to find the escape door. Obviously, Abigail was lying to him. There is no escape door, so they go and sit. They're sitting there for a while, and they're like, okay, she's just gonna wait. She's going to keep hiding and just wait until, the sun goes down to come and kill us. Like, what are we going to do? And they keep talking. It's like, we just got to reset. We got to think. And that's when Sammy realizes, oh my God, reset. If we just find anything, I can reset the system and get us out. I don't need to hack it. I don't need power source. I just need literally anything that I can basically get the doors open. That's what they then start looking for. And they go off in teams, okay? And so Peter goes with Sammy because Sammy's like, what if I turn into a vampire? And he's like, no, I saw your reflection in the mirror. We're good. It's going to be fine. So they go down. They have a very clear heart-to-heart, okay? Just like Joey and Rickles did earlier. All right. And then as they're in almost like a statue garden off on the side of the house. It's all boarded up still, clearly. But it's clearly this was once an outdoor space. So there's still a good amount of light coming in through the boards. They take a couple of steps apart. They're looking around to see if there's any form of access point for the control room or anything like that. And that is when we see Abigail putting on a record and talking. And Sammy's wound on her arm closes where she was bit. And suddenly, Sammy's not in control. Abigail is. It's done so good. It's done. I can't even explain it properly. It's just Abigail's puppet in this moment, okay? And so she rips his throat out, Peter is like, no, this isn't you, like, fight it, fight it, fight it, whatever. Doesn't do anything. Sammy rips him apart, okay? And then they continued to be linked, and now it goes back and forth seamlessly as Abigail is doing a dance covered in blood herself as well, in her little Swan Lake outfit. Sammy is covered in his blood. Her eyes are blue. And she's doing the same movements because she is still a puppet. And then as she's doing this as well, her skin is steaming because the sunlight is like touching her, but she's not in direct light. So it's like, it's affecting her, but not clearly, but she's just covered in blood and she's doing the dance. And it's just done so, it's such a cool sequence. I love it so much. It's so unsettling. It's so creepy. It's done so well. And then that is when Frank and Joey run in and they're like, okay, she goes back in and Abigail through Sammy goes, oh no. He died. I'm sorry. It's done so well. And Joey's like, hey, turn around. What was that? Come over here. Sammy lunges at them, starts chasing them. They're shooting at her, all this stuff. And once again, they get upstairs. They get away from her, but they use the mirror that had basically shown her reflection earlier, and they use that to guide the sunlight so that it hits her and she explodes in a million pieces. And what I learned later, I thought most of this was CGI. They did so much of this as practical effects. The special effects department literally shared videos of how they were like testing the behind the scenes, including like the crucifix stabbing to the chest, the gunshot wounds, the explosions, all of it. They showed all the behind the scenes. That's so cool. I love when practical effects are done like that, and they're done so well. To just see someone's like whole body just, yeah, that would be insane. They're waiting. They're trying to figure out. Abigail's still not there. But then a secret door in the library does open. And they're like, it's a trap. Joey's like, do we have any other choice? I don't think so. So they go through, and that is where they find the control room. And there is Lambert. He never left. He was there the whole time. So Frank is like, you son of a bitch, you set me up. Lambert reveals he's also a vampire. Bares his fangs at him, and he's like, yeah, that's right. And Joey tries to go and stake him. He like shoves her down, chokes her out, and is like, listen, Abigail turned me 2 years ago. Once she found out I helped you, she had me lead you here, but I'm done. I can turn you. You'll have full autonomy like me. I need the extra juice, and then we'll kill her. I already called the Tsar. He's already on his way. We'll kill him too. We take the whole operation for ourselves. They smack Joey down, okay? Joey's bleeding on the floor. She's trying to get her breath back. She's got the wind knocked out of her. And Frank says, fuck it, bite me. Bloody experience. He literally I think they were trying to show he was like basically forcing all of his own like actual human blood out of himself through his mouth, because that's like what I would interpret it as, like, oh yeah, no, you need blood, so you're losing all of your blood, which is like a really cool concept in vampires, I think, because yeah, like basically you're cold-blooded because you have no warm blood in you, so it would make sense if like you had to force all the blood. And I thought it was cool. I liked it. I thought it was a cool choice. Very unsettling, very creepy. I thought it was done really well. Lambert's like, great, let's party. Stakes Lambert, kills Lambert. He's like, that's for screwing me over. That's for selling me out. Joey's freaked out because obviously there's now another vampire of a guy who didn't like her this entire time. Then Abigail walks in and is like, did he try to convince you to kill me before he turned you? Ha 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 ha. That is when Frank attacks Abigail and tries to drain her. Joey grabs her phone with the photo of her son and sprints out of there, tries to get back to the door, but it's already been closed, okay? Abigail closed it behind her when she was coming in to trap them in there with her. And she tries to call her son. She thinks he gets him. It's the voicemail. She leaves a message. And then that is when Frank walks out and says, little late to stop being a shitty mom. And then kicks her through the door, knocks her out, starts kind of beating the shit out of her. Abigail runs in, knocks him off of her. And she says, I'm too weak to stop him. You have to help me. So they start fighting Frank together. This is so drawn out in a way where I was like, okay, are we gonna keep going? But it actually works really well because, yeah, Abigail's weak. Frank is like a new vampire. I wanted a little more, I don't know. Are you that superpowered already? Is it that quick? I guess, because like that kind of is what happened with Sammy, with the fact that like once she was turned, she was like right on in it. But like, I don't know. I guess he's kind of already a dick. So like maybe it's just like amplifying the fact that he's a dick. But I always like the emphasis from vampire lore of like different vampire media of the fact that like you become more of your true self once you become a vampire. Like you lose some inhibitions, which is why you become so like desperately hungry for blood and all this stuff. But that also makes it so that you become your more truer self. So if you were a shitty person, which we knew he was already a power hungry, shitty person, that we knew, of course you would become more of that. So of course he's just like, I don't care that this bitch hasn't done much to me. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna kill her, because why not? No one else is here to stop me. And then I'm gonna kill Abigail too, so that I have control. And then I'll kill Lazar when he comes too, because why not, you know? So that makes sense in that progression. Abigail is weak. He's like breaking her neck. She's trying to, fix herself while he's beating the crap out of Joey. But like, it's like a slingshot, because we got a human and an injured vampire fighting a new vampire. It's so mismatched. He stakes Joey through the shoulder at one point, into the wall. She can't get herself up as he is trying to kill Abigail. And then he takes the stake out of Joey, bites Joey, tries to turn her, okay? And then all of a sudden, he's like, you're gonna be my puppet. I'm gonna make you kill Abigail. Joey wakes up and he's like, okay, kill the girl, stake the girl, gives her the stake. She tries to stake him. Doesn't quite work, but it's enough of a distraction for Abigail to jump in. And then they tag team him and they get him. And as Abigail's yelling, you can't just make someone a puppet. It takes years to become a talented vampire. Joey's freaked out. She's freaked out because the stake is on, and she's like, oh my God, am I gonna become? And she's like, no, you're fine. Especially now that he's dead. She's like, okay, goodbye, I guess. Like, this is really weird now. Like, you're gonna let me leave. She says goodbye. Like, say hi to Justin. Again, call back to like when she thought she was still a little girl and she gave her son the fake name. She's like, it's actually Caleb. She's like, I know, but like, maybe I'll see you again someday, whatever. As Joey is leaving, the doors fly open. Terror on her face. Lazar is here. Lazar is vampire. Historical vampire to the core. Tries to grab Joey, and Abigail's like, Father, don't. They go back and forth. They have a moment. He then grabs Joey's hand, kisses it, and says, thank you for protecting my daughter or helping my daughter, because Abigail's like, she was here when you weren't. She helped me when you didn't. And he said, you should go soon. It's almost dinner time. And Joey leaves. Abigail says, okay, see you soon. Like, see you some other time. See you again soon, or whatever like that. Joey leaves, finds the lollipop that she had in her pocket earlier, finishes it, drives off. Tribute to Angus Cloud. End of movie. Anyways, you have to go see Abigail. Like, I went through so much of the movie, and even then I'm not doing it justice, truly. Like, the dance sequence alone, I'm gonna go see this movie again, because it was so well done. To even explain the dance sequence more, because so much of it is, I'm not a ballerina, but like technically sound, because obviously Abigail is like professionally trained, is like the whole thing they're trying to show us as well. Like, she's a ballerina, but she's also clearly joking around a little bit, because she's trying to mess with Sammy psychologically a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, no, you don't get to control what you're doing. I'm doing this for you. Like, twirl, but like, I'm doing it, And it's like, it's so messed up. It's so well done. Anyways, go see Abigail. So much of ensemble cats lately, I feel like, are not all strong. I can't find a weak moment in this cast, really. Like, this is such a strong casting choice as well. And like, there are times where I'm like, I wouldn't have killed that person, but I would have killed this person at this point anyways, and all that. But like, other than that, like, and a few little tweaks that I would make, like, just through like the execution of like little, really small things, like, I really can't find a fault in the cast at all, really, for this. Anyways, great movie, great execution. I like that you kind of left it a little open-ended so that you could do another, but like, you totally could just leave this. You totally could leave this alone. Just saying, there could be more. So the directors also directed Ready or Not, which is another horror movie that I love and adore. So basically, I've decided, and I think most of the internet has decided, that Ready or Not and Abigail are in the same universe, okay? Which would make sense with the content of Ready or Not, with like the lore of Ready or Not, as well as the lore of Abigail. So I'm just saying we have like a horror movie team-up situation here. For me personally, I think this is the best horror movie of the year so far. But let me know what you think. Have you seen Abigail? Are you going to see Abigail? Does this make you want to see Abigail? Are you a trained ballerina that is going to go see Abigail? Because that, I really want to see like a reaction video from like a professional ballerina reacting to Abigail. I think that would be like a really good video. Just saying, let me know, comment down below. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder that I stream on Twitch. Reminder to use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting my Patreon. If you'd also like to support my Patreon, love us down below. Like to follow me on social media. It'll be all up here. And that's going to be the hell of the day. Goodbye. Sammy as a character is just like so endearing in a way where it's like, okay, you're trying, but also, God, I kind of want to strangle you. Because there's one point where it's like, okay, we need garlic. Okay, I'll go check the kitchen. And she comes back with a bag of onions. And she's like, what do you want from me?
Thank you, Oz, Eva, Ayana, Abby, Angel, Goth, Glenn, Palace, Pink, Jasmine, Lauren, Amy, Aslan, Medic, Rosie, Victor, Andrew, Tenzin, Sam, Mae West, Michael, Ryan, Adira, Nathan, Zwink, Literal, Jeffrey, Randy, QWERTY, Nomad, Thomas, Tasha, Donnie, Winter, Kenny, Robert, Cameron, Elliott.